Alright, so we're going to get into font and text and like font families and things like that you probably have used or changed in the past on like Word or Google Docs, but never really knew what it meant. You just knew it changed something. So the way that you can set this up, alright, so here's how the hierarchy is. So if you chose Times New Roman as your font family, it would just do a Times New Roman. But if you just did Times, it would do anything in the Times family. And then if you just did serif, it would do anything serif font family related. And a lot of this comes from your web browser or like the UTF-8 stuff that we do in our metadata. And we'll get more into font families. So one thing that you need to look at is that whether it's serif or sans serif. And this is all about how things look and how you want them to look. If you want them to look like this over here on the left, which tends to be a little more elegant and prestigious, you would do a serif type of font. If you want it to be very straight and modern, you would do a sans serif type of font. Okay, here's another example. Serif over here. It's got these little extra pieces, little footers and stuff on the tops and bottoms of its letters. And then sans serif does not. Alright. Font style. Alright, so font styles, you can do bold, you can do underline, italic, or just normal. So here's an example of just a normal font style, and then that same text in an italics font style. Okay, font weight. Sorry, I said bold over here. It's not bold. Bold is font weight. Okay. So if you had a normal font weight, this is what it would look like as an example. If you wanted it to be bold, you can do font weight bold. You can target specific words in a sentence with just to be bold, and I can show you that later when we get to something like that. We can use EMS for accessibility. Makes things easier for screen readers and things like that for those who are visually impaired. The normal font size would be 1, so font size 1 EM. And then if you wanted to increase it, 0.3 EM, or font size 0.6 if you want it 0.67 to make it smaller. You could also just do normal font sizes. It just depends on what you're doing. But be sure to set your font size for the entire body to 100% just to have it start. Now, it will do this by default, but you can always just do it just to double check. Alright. Indenting text. Okay, so you can indent like a paragraph, like you would normally have to do in an essay or something like that. Do how far in you want to indent. So 50 pixels would be to, from here to here. You just have to play around with your indentation, but 50 is probably a good spot to start. Here on this screen, we can see an example of some text, like a menu. Okay, so you have the avocado toast, and then the normal, what's in it, how it's made, so on and so forth. And then here is the CSS properties that go to it. So to target this, we would change the font size to 2 EM, so it doubles the font size, and it's italics font style. Sorry if you hear my son. Font size 1.3, so it's a little bit smaller than the menu, but bigger than normal text. We text align center. And then we have our text here. And we change that paragraph text to a font family Arial, Helvetica, sans serif. So down here, we've got some letter spacing, 2px, line height, 1.5 EM. Basically, how far apart this line is from this line, and how tall each of these lines are. So that's not, of course, how you would put it onto a style sheet or onto a HTML document if you're doing inline or internal style sheet. But those are just some of those things that you would change, you would target and change if you wanted this to get that look. Okay. You need to switch over to your index file. If you did it in style or internal, so if you already have somewhere with H1 styling, go ahead and we'll just work with whatever you are on. So if you have it here, just keep adding here. If you did a style sheet separate or an external style sheet, add it to there. I'll probably show both examples. But here's what we're going to do. So we're going to do this. So we're going to change the font family to Arial, Helvetica, Sans Serif, font style, Italic, and this is what it's going to make it look like. Okay, so once again, go here. So we're going to add here below it inside of the brackets. So we're going to do font family, and as you see, some things will populate to kind of help you out. Of course, here's some options, but we're going to do this example. So we want Arial, Helvetica, Sans Serif. So Arial, Helvetica, Sans Serif. There we go. And then we also wanted to change the font style to Italic. Now I'm going to hit Enter. Font style Italic. Okay, you don't want to just go on the line. You want to enter after every different type. So every time there's a semicolon, you want to hit Enter, just so everything kind of stacks normally. It also helps for organizing if you want to change anything or copy and paste something over. Okay, so that'll change our H1s to be a font family of this style, and then Italic. Now this changes every H1, so if there's not an H1 that you want to have that, you'll have to go and change it inline. Font weight, remember, is either normal or bold. By default it's normal, so you don't need to type it. So with font size, we can control how big the text appears on your page. You can set it to specifics, but it's probably better to set as EMs, just in case someone has a screen reader or something and it has a default size setting. So example, so paragraph, font family, Arial, Helvetica, Sans Serif, font size 1.5 EM, so on and so forth. This is obviously a typo because we're targeting our paragraph text. So let's go to our paragraph text, type it here. Font family, Arial, Helvetica, Sans Serif. Font size, we want 1.5 EM. Save. We're going to save this. We're going to open up our index. It should already be open. Refresh, and you can see everything has been updated. All right, already looking a lot better than the original. All right. So while the font attributes affect the way text appears, the text attributes have more to do with the positioning of the text on the page. So like indenting it. We can add a text indent 50px. So we go there. So we're in our paragraph. Text indent 50px. Make sure you type px for pixels. Otherwise it may not understand what you're trying to do, and it might just give you no result or a random result. Okay, so come back here to our website, and you can see it's indented all of our paragraph tags over 50 pixels. All right. So now We can align our text. So if we wanted things to be aligned to the left, towards the left of the page to start, we would do left align, or we do right align, where they would start coming from the right, or center, where they would be centered. Or there's a alignment called justify, which basically just goes left to right, back and forth. This is used in a lot of like newspapers and things like that, and news websites, because that's how their articles tend to be typed out. Text decoration is another way of formatting text. You can have things underlined, overlined, lined through, like a strike through, or none. Obviously, none is probably the value because or it's your default value, because you won't really need to change a whole lot. And most of this is not necessary type of stuff. But what we're going to do now is a little bit of practice, and this is what you'll actually turn in. So you may have seen some things like these on websites and Instagram and Twitter and all that stuff, where people post motivational stuff, or just pictures with some text over them. You can actually use CSS to add text to an image on a website and adjust the placement of the text just as the window is resized. Okay. So create a new HTML file in your working folder, so in your content folder, and call it motto.html. So we're going to go here, we're in our content folder, and we're going to create a new file, but we're just going to do this here in our Visual Studio Code. So, new file, file save as, motto. Alright, and we need to make sure we're in our content folder. Alright, so we need to do our normal stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and open up also my template. My template folder, and then I'm going to copy this over, just so I have something to go ahead and start with. Okay, I'm going to give it a title, motto. Alright, and let's see what else we need to add. Title, well, beach walk. Okay, we'll change that. I'm going to give you this in the Google Classroom, but I'm going to go ahead and save it myself. Potentially. There we go. Alright. Oh, there we go. Alright, so let me go to my downloads. Downloads. And I'm going to rename it. Let's move this over. To my multimedia. And rename Beach Walk. Okay, you can rename it to whatever you want. It's up to you. We need to obviously put this into our code. So we would do the image, source, and then we do our pathway. So we're going into the multimedia folder, and mine is beach walk PNG. Close the image tag, and we'll have to double check to make sure this all works. So file, save, and we're going to open that file. Okay, so our file is there. Alright, that's the hard part. So we need to put this alt text, 2 people walking on the beach. Two people walking on the beach. Remember, you should always have a alt text for your images, just in case they don't show up. Then we're going to do some styling inside of our head. I'm probably just going to copy and paste this. I'll copy and paste this to the Google Classroom, but I'm not going to put these values. So you're going to have to copy it and then type in these values. That shouldn't be too much to ask of you.